Well, I'm Dennis Soltys from the Department of Public Administration here at KIMEP, and I'm pleased to say that I've been here now. This is my 7th year. I'm enjoying my students and my work here at KIMEP very much.
Okay. Why have you been involved in this roundtable?
Well, mainly to learn for myself some issues around NGOs. A year ago, one of my students wrote a very good essay on environmental education here in Kazakhstan. I got very intrigued with this, environmental education and environmental NGOs. So the student and I agreed then to do some research and write further research and write a manuscript about this, possibly for publication. So then both of us, she and I, together and separately, then did quite a comprehensive review of the printed ecological sources here in KIMEP, in Kazakhstan. That is academic journals, newspapers, environmental and governmental websites, you know, the standard information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, and as I said, how do you think, what were the main aspects which were more important during the roundtable discussion?
Well, I want to finish this thought that I started with just now. After having done a comprehensive literature review, I realized that I hardly knew any more about Kazakhstan and NGOs here than an archaeologist might know about ancient Egypt just from reading hieroglyphics. That is, I was missing, and the academic profession as a whole tends to miss quite often the very detailed specifics of things, events that go on at the level of civic society and NGOs. That is, what is the spirit of the topics about which I had read in books. So for me, yes, this is why then I wanted to come to this conference, is because I hoped, as I have been successful here to some degree, in actually, well, hearing the experiences precisely of those people who work at the ground level, the grassroots level in their fields. Because if I don't have this as an academic, it's quite possible for me, on the basis of stereotypes and facts and theories, to misrepresent the situation quite badly. So I'm aware of that. So I wanted to get some first-hand information. So that was my primary motivation for coming here. The unfortunate thing about academics also, the academic sphere, is if you read only about 2 or 3 books in an area, right away people think you know something about it. So apparently some of my colleagues here think that I know something about these topics and invited me.
Okay. And about the information presented by you on this roundtable, could you please give us the brief summary of the whole information which you presented?
Of my information?
The information you presented on the roundtable, yes.
Well, I could just, my most substantive point was the one that I just made, that this conference it's sort of a practitioner's conference, but it's very useful for academics like me. They plan, the conference organizers, to have the conference proceedings published, and also that'll be very good. It'll be good for, I think, at least three audiences: an international developmental audience, public administration audience, but then I think perhaps the main value of this book, this compendium, when it's published, will be for teaching purposes, for teachers like me here at KIMEP or throughout all of Kazakhstan. I think, I expect, I hope, I think that that book, when it's published, will be a very good teaching resource for students. So what I said then was, I guess, I very much encouraged and congratulated the organizers of this conference, because I think it was very good. As for other things, what did I have in my notes? Well, yes, the other point is that I made, or one is that I think civic society here, the activism of people in Kazakhstan is quite good. When I listen to an example as the one given by Christine Williams of the tremendous effort and difficulties that people go through to try to accomplish something, examples like that, and there are many, shows that it's quite untrue, the stereotype that people are indifferent, that Kazakhs are, well, don't care about the environment, or they're not capable of organizing themselves. Quite the contrary. I think civic groups here are in quite good shape. There is a lot of potential. At the same time, we recognize that most of the problems are quite serious ones, but they're of technical things, simply of lack of easy communications, roads, internet links, computers, whatever, which just defeat people's initiatives, wear them out. Kristen gave that example of people having to drive 2 hours just to place a phone call, or to drive 10 hours to the neighboring city to find an internet connection. So the corollary of this, I think, is that, rather an encouraging one, if it's a bleak picture, is that as the economy improves, people's standard of living rises, then it'll become easier for people to communicate. They will simply have better roads, more, better telephones, computers, whatever. So in some ways, then, the organization of groups, self-organizational groups, will sort of take off by itself, so to speak, once it becomes easier. As I said at the conference myself, one of the reasons why we have so many civic groups in North America is simply because communication is so easy. There you don't have to spend 10 hours to place a phone call. So, looking at this with a little bit of historical perspective, then I think the situation here with the development of civic groups in society here in Kazakhstan is not really that pessimistic, but on the contrary, I personally am quite optimistic for the further development of civic groups here.
Okay, well, that were the main points I wanted to ask, and there will be some additional questions. And about the roundtable itself, how do you think, are the events kind of this really useful? I mean, are they just theoretical? For what are they done, those events, like this roundtable? For what are they organized?
Well, as I just said, this event was very useful to me, personally, very useful. It will be useful, that book, when it's published, to those 3 audiences, or maybe more, that I've mentioned. International aid agencies, governments, diplomats, public administrators, public policy people within Kazakhstan itself, and for teaching. So that product, the printed product, will be very useful. As I said also, my experience here was useful to me personally, and I would guess also to the other participants. Well, yes, everybody had something good and interesting to say. It's a sharing of experience. I myself am not, I don't work in these organizations, so for these people who are learning from their colleagues' experience, I'm sure is very useful to them also.
And how do you think, will there be some maybe good effects of this round table, or for other events like this? I mean, will they be kind of heard by the participants? Will they do something, not just come to listen to all these presentations and go home, or will they do something? I mean, will they remember that we have some problems and we have to...
Well, they're doing something right now. They're holding this conference, and they're exchanging information, and they will publish a book which will be read by people. But also, I think conferences in general maybe have this useful function. Why have conferences like this in person when you can now just meet on Skype or whatever, television conference, video conference? I think any conference fulfills a certain sort of a human need. We need reinforcement from our colleagues. We need live, reaction from people, because we're just vulnerable people ourselves, and we wonder, well, am I just wasting my time about this? Does anybody care about what I'm doing? So on the human side of it, just to получить резонанс, to get a reaction from other people that, yes, I think what you're doing is good. It's team building, and so if people need that. NGOs themselves need this. Well, what will be done further? Well, again, that's sort of out of my vision, because I'm not involved in that conference. I don't know what the planners have, but they're very enthusiastic people, very practical people, practically oriented. They precisely want to move away, I think, from theory, as Kristen Williams in her presentation said, and wants to solve concrete problems. Also, the presentation by Janet Humphrey. She started with kind of an abstract distinction, or these two different schools of thought, of corporate social responsibility, but then she started the exercise of thinking through in detail what it would mean for the specific behavior of corporations operating in Kazakhstan. And for us as policymakers, if we see bad behavior, we want to change it, or if we see good behavior, we want to encourage it. So this now moves away from the realm of theory to practice. How can we make corporations behave better here in Kazakhstan? It's a very practical question.